The documentary-style film opens with a nostalgic look at a childhood birthday party for a girl named Larissa, the future global superstar Anitta. The narrator Pedro, a childhood friend and now the film's cameraman, establishes the central theme, the duality between the public powerhouse persona of Anitta and the private vulnerable girl from Honorario girl Larissa de Macedo Machado. Pedro, who is also from Honorario, reveals he has always carried a poorly resolved love for Larissa. He was surprised when she chose him to film her, realizing she wanted a witness who knew her before the fame, someone who could help her understand and perhaps reconcile this crazy split. The narrative shifts to the present, showing the global scale of Anitta's fame, winning VMAs, intense touring and breaking records like being the first Brazilian to reach top global on Spotify with Envolver. Anitta discusses the early struggles of making funk music acceptable on the radio, having to change her songs to sound pop. This reflects her constant need to adapt and fight for her identity and genre. Pedro's filming journey begins and he notes the stark difference between the private Larissa he knew and the electrifying performer Anitta he films from the back of the stage. Their reunion is charged with unspoken history as Pedro still grapples with his feelings for the queen of the world, wondering if she could be interested in a totally regular guy after dating mega famous people. He questions whether he can film her professionally and whether she is still herself beneath the fame. A long, intimate conversation between Larissa and Pedro unfolds. Larissa recalls her childhood, particularly an instance that cemented her understanding of herself. She describes feeling invisible at home because her mother wanted her to be less like herself and more like her calmer brother, making her feel irrelevant unless she excelled. She recounts a spring girl pageant she entered for the scholarship prize. Though she was made fun of for her looks and simple homemade costume, she won by relying solely on her charisma. This story is a microcosm of her career, a blend of determination, resourcefulness and undeniable magnetism that overcomes humble beginnings. The film emphasizes the importance of family as Larissa's foundation. Her aunts Miriam, Marcia and Marilia, along with her mother and brother Renat, whom she calls the love of my life, are shown as her core support system. She shares an anecdote from her childhood where she silently and purposefully left the family at a mall to stand in the longest line, the one for the thing she truly wanted, Minnie Mouse, instead of the one her family was settling for, Pluto. This illustrates her innate nonverbal drive for her biggest desires. The separation of her parents when she was young is subtly mentioned as possibly contributing to a feeling of abandonment, suggesting that the super tough Anitta persona may be a defense mechanism for the fragile and sensitive Larissa. The film cuts between the private moments, Larissa and Pedro sharing quiet conversations and playful intimacy like Anitta washing his hair, and the spectacle of her career such as her performance at Coachella. Larissa candidly discusses the difficulties of dating as a hyper-successful woman. She points out the double standard. A famous man dating a nice girl from the countryside is romantic, but a successful woman dating a regular guy is seen as a mismatch, as if her worth is determined by a partner at her level. She expresses a desire to be with someone good for me regardless of their status. As the lines between Anitta and Larissa blur, the film shows moments where Larissa deliberately lowers her guard with Pedro and moments where she consciously changes when others arrive, adopting a different personality. She admits this shift is out of a fear of being judged, a protective mechanism. In a final charged moment, Anitta, or is it Larissa, tells Pedro he looks so hot when you have your camera in your hands. Pedro, still caught between his professional role and personal feelings, is left with the film's unanswered question: was it Anitta who said that? Or Larissa? The film concludes on this unresolved tension, confirming that the two women, the creature and the creator, not only coexist but are constantly at play. The movie is an intimate documentary-style portrait centered on the global Brazilian pop star Anitta and the inner conflict with her birth identity Larissa de Macedo Machado. Filmed by her childhood friend Pedro, the narrative explores the demanding life of a superstar and the struggle to protect the private self from the all-consuming public persona. The film immediately establishes the complex dynamic between the two identities. Anitta, the successful brand, is a relentless, in-control hurricane who manages her entire empire, even directing stage crew and spotting a theft during a carnival performance. Larissa, however, is a deeply insecure person who admits to Pedro that she often feels like her performance sucks and no one wants to see her before she steps on stage. This revelation is shocking to Pedro, who had only seen her unbeatable boss mode. Larissa explains that the more uncomfortable she is, the stronger the Anitta persona emerges, but the energy expenditure leaves her feeling tortured when she gets home. Larissa uses the process of the film to reflect on her life, including a fear that her private life isn't as interesting as the constant avalanche of the Anitta brand, causing her to fade into the background. She openly discusses the burden of fame, lamenting the loss of the freedom to simply walk in the street or choose where to go without public scrutiny. She touches on the challenges of finding genuine connection, noting how many men are intimidated by her fame during intimacy, causing them to act like the victim, which she initially found heartbreaking but now accepts as a sign they weren't right for her. The movie takes a serious turn when Larissa receives devastating news. Her beloved father Moro has a lung tumor, likely cancer. The film contrasts the emotional weight of this personal crisis with the professional obligation to continue her grueling schedule. This moment highlights the impossibility of simply turning off the Anitta machine, even when the personal stakes her family's health are so high. The news is thankfully followed by a positive update that the cancer is localized and curable with surgery, providing a moment of profound relief. Pedro's role in the film shifts from objective cameraman to rekindled love interest. He admits his biggest challenge was hiding his long-standing feelings for her, only to discover their old intimacy remains intact. Their relationship culminates in a romantic interlude, but the fragile Larissa quickly exerts her boundaries. After a few intimate days, she abruptly cuts off the situation when it no longer aligns with what she deems right. She coldly tells Pedro that his feelings complicate the professional relationship they agreed upon, and without explaining her change of heart asserts that she has decided to end things. The final segments focus on Larissa's search for self-preservation and happiness beyond professional success. She finds herself at the peak of her career, having achieved her dream of being #1 in the world, yet realizing she's lost the ability to enjoy it. She worries about the relentless pursuit of the next one and the big void that external success couldn't fill. She decides to stop the endless climb, symbolized by her choice not to hike to the top of a mountain, realizing that giving up is sometimes necessary to keep going in a new direction. This new direction is a spiritual and introspective path. She embraces yoga, kundalini, spiritual retreats, and gestational mapping, determined to heal the self she has neglected. She finds the simple, profound truth: true happiness must come from within and shouldn't be dependent on external validation, hits, or wealth. Her renewed perspective is on display during her father's surprise birthday party, where she performs and shares a beautiful moment of connection with her family. The film ends with Larissa and Pedro sharing a sunrise, reflecting on the value of their spontaneous, genuine moment over the manufactured fun of a club. Larissa, though having rejected Pedro, romantically shares her final thoughts with him and the audience about her transformation. She is now very fucking happy and is embracing her full crazy self. The final sentiment is a universal one: the battle between Larissa and Anitta has concluded in an understanding that we all carry a duality, and to live fully we must accept 100% of who we are. Its exploration of the Larissa and Anitta duality, utilizing the camera's presence and Pedro's perspective to capture the superstar's internal conflict at her professional zenith. After the intimate moments, the professional necessity of the Anitta brand reasserts itself, creating the central tension that eventually breaks her connection with Pedro. The exhausting price of the persona. The film effectively contrasts the raw, vulnerable moments of Larissa with the absolute control of the Anitta brand. On stage, Anitta is a machine of pure visceral performance, but behind the scenes she is simultaneously the artist and the manager, aware of everything from the sound mix to security details. This tireless control is her secret weapon, yet it's a source of profound exhaustion. She confesses that this relentless pace, this state of never being able to be at peace, is taking a toll on her health. The fear that her body might give in, as the iconic Brazilian star Carmen Miranda did, whom she references as a cautionary tale, prompts her search for an escape. The fame she worked so hard for has become a cage. Anitta reveals that the public's constant recognition has stripped her of control over the persona she used to consciously flip the switch to become Anitta, but now the change happens involuntarily whenever she's around anyone who knows her. This loss of control is unbearable. She wants to bury it all and stop the endless expectation to deliver more and more. She reaches a point of burnout, symbolized by her decision to stop a planned ascent to a high peak. She consciously chooses to prioritize her peace over the footage of a final ultimate conquest. Seeking inner peace and re-evaluation. Larissa's subsequent spiritual journey is a desperate bid for self-recovery. She engages in intensive practices like family constellation therapy, kundalini activation, and spiritual retreats. She's not just taking a break, she's fundamentally rewiring her approach to life. This movement is a direct counter to her former purely material ambitions. She realizes that her initial drive, her intense need to be seen and valued stemming from feeling invisible in her childhood home, created a big void that no amount of success could ever fill. She correctly diagnoses the problem: she was trying to fill an internal emptiness with external validation. Her new goal is profound: to be happy even if she were to lose everything. She decides to stop the relentless cycle of planning the next one and instead live fully in the present, valuing every minute as if it were her last. This shift in perspective transforms her professional life, leading her to feel genuine joy in performing, unburdened by the pressure of outcomes. The failed reunion and final acceptance. Pedro, meanwhile, remains emotionally entangled. His camera is a shield, but their brief romantic connection causes him to fall in love all over again. However, Larissa, acting with the ruthless efficiency of her Anitta business sense, quickly cuts off the personal relationship. She asserts that a romantic involvement with Pedro messes things up for her, prioritizing her emotional self-preservation over a complicated relationship. The camera, Pedro's professional tool, then becomes a wall, symbolizing the distance Larissa has re-established. Despite his pain, Pedro continues to film, capturing the beautiful climax of her father's cancer-free birthday celebration. The final scenes show Larissa's genuine, uninhibited joy and her deep, renewed connection with her family. The film concludes with Larissa and Pedro witnessing a beautiful sunrise. This final visual metaphor suggests a new beginning. Larissa has found a way for her two selves to coexist, realizing that being truly happy means accepting the duality and letting go of the need to be the best all the time. She's decided to be very fucking happy regardless of external circumstances, a powerful message that transcends the pop star narrative and offers a universal lesson on self-acceptance. If you enjoy watching this video, then subscribe to Angel Recaps for the latest movies explanation.